I'm your host, Reena Friedman Watts, and this is the Better Call Daddy Show.
Hey, this is Big Daddy, Wayne Friedman.
That's my grandpa. Grandpa, you ready for more daddy drama?
My dad is my number one hero and number one fan.
And I'm a pretty cool dude.
All right, season 4, baby. Here we go.
More stories you're not going to believe.
And maybe you will after you listen.
5 stars.
5.5 stars, 2 thumbs up.
You are a pretty cool dude.
I love you, Mommy.
Don't stand on the table and damn the public. You'll get some words of wisdom to live by.
Here we go again. Better call Daddy.
You know what your problem is? You like me.
Yeah, I do. Each week, I interview a guest, share the stories with my dad, and then he weighs in at the end of every episode with his wisdom and wit.
Hey, Grandpa.
Everyone from influential players to inspirational fathers, and of course, controversial people.
Grandpa, my mommy's calling.
Creating that legacy one call at a time. And welcome to the Better Call Daddy Show.
Stay tuned.
Where's the music?
Better call Daddy 'cause he knows you best. Better call Daddy 'cause he's bringing the test. He sees possibilities. Such possibilities. Better call Daddy, he'll be by your side. Better call Daddy, you're the apple of his eye. He sees all that you can be. All that you can be.
Today's guest, Dana Bradley, is a queen in every sense. She became Miss Alabama. She's been a wife for 30 years, and she lost 157 pounds the natural way. She is unstoppable. She has God in her heart, fire in her soul, and she has proved that anything is possible. Dana, welcome to the Better Call Daddy Show. Dana, I am excited to finally do this podcast with you, and I want to talk about the incredible weight loss journey that you have had. 158 pounds you've lost?
157. Close enough.
That is a whole person.
Yes, it is. Definitely, I shed a whole person, but gained a whole new lease on life, which has been remarkable. So
How in the world did you do that?
it stems back from my mom. I was really heavy. I have 2 kids, and they were 13 and 16 at the time. It was March of 2020. COVID was just hitting the States, and everybody was in a panic mode. I had a doctor's appointment I had to go to, and the doctor told me that I wasn't doing well. I had reached 284 pounds on the scale, and he said I was pretty much a ticking time bomb. I was on every medication, had all kinds of health illnesses. If you name it, I had type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, where I had too many strokes before I was 35 years old. I had just a massive array of issues. And he pretty much told me I was going to leave my kids without a mom. And I went back into my car. I cried a river because I thought about my mom and how she left me and my siblings when I was just 14 years old. Here my kids are 13 and 16. And I was like, how could I do this? How can I keep going down this road and not do better for them? So I pretty much decided I was going to have to grab the bull by the horns and just do this. And it was going to have to be different than anything I ever done before in my entire life. You lose weight and you gain it back, and you eat in moderation. You try certain diets and this and that, and it never really changes your lifestyle. And this had to be a lifestyle change for me. I was tired of being stuck. I was tired of being in a roller coaster, stuck and not being able to get out. I felt like I was on a hamster wheel continuing to spin, and nothing was changing. I ended up researching a lot about nutrients and things that my body needed, what I had to get rid of. I had to get rid of the sugar. I was a very big sugar addict, and Coca-Colas were my go-to. They were my feel-good. They were like my alcohol or my drug addiction. It was sugar addiction. And it wasn't so much the breads and the pastries. It was just the sugar that I craved from Coca-Cola. I was downing pretty much 24 cans in less than 2 days. And I was pretty much setting myself up for diabetes, full-blown diabetes. And I decided I was going to go ahead and get my health back. And I decided to research all I could about what I had to do to get there. And I knew that exercise had to be a big part of that. It was COVID times. Gyms were shutting down. I had no place to turn to except my home. So I remember going to get a couple dumbbells, going to get some resistance bands at my favorite place, TJ Maxx. And I went into Walmart and got a pair of tennis shoes that were $15 because I didn't really own a pair. I was not really active person, a mom, but not very active. And so I went ahead and got those things, sat down that night, started researching everything, went to the grocery store, got all the junk out of my cabinets and my pantry, my refrigerator, and I pretty much started on a healthy lease on life for me. And I was able to endure the journey. It was very hard, but over time, through discipline, focus, and consistency, I was able to find my way.
That is amazing. But I want you to give me the nitty-gritty. I mean, putting on the tennis shoes and getting the resistance bands, that's not gonna lose 157 pounds. What
No.
was the grind like?
It was getting up. I was looking on YouTube the night before I started working out, looking for videos that I could possibly do. I think the last video I ever did was actually Richard Simmons sweating to the oldies. That was one video I did just because there were big people on there. I didn't feel ashamed because they were doing it. I could do it too. So
Oh,
I came up with some videos that had larger people in them, and the trainers were a man and a woman, and they were doing low and high intensity. I needed low intensity because I was not active. I was wanting to park as close as I could to the front so that I wouldn't have to walk very far because I just did not have that endurance. I was tired all the time. All my illnesses were creeping up on me and it made me sluggish and tired. I remember getting up the next morning. I set my alarm clock extra early, and extra early, I mean by 30 minutes. And I put the video on my husband's iPad in the living room so I wouldn't wake anybody up in the house. And I began doing the workout. I remember getting 10 minutes into the workout, and it was getting hard. And I just thought to myself, I can't do this. The word I can't entered my mind. And I said, I just can't do this. I just can't. And I broke down for a little bit, and then I realized that I had no choice. The doctor gave me a scenario of I could leave my kids without a mom, and I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to be selfish and leave my kids. My mom lost her battle with cancer, neglected her health before she ever found out, and she could have been living for a lot longer. I didn't want that to be a scenario for my kids. So I thought, you know what? I have to get back up, get back in the game and do it. I finally finished. I felt good after finishing. And normally I would have wanted to grab a Coke in my refrigerator. However, I didn't have anything but water. I remember ditching the cereals and all the high carb breakfast items. I went to eggs. I went to yogurts, cottage cheese. I went through a lot of healthy stages. I picked up fruit where I would have picked up a bag of donuts for me in the morning. But no, I went ahead and I had to stay diligent with what I was doing. It was hard. I ended up walking on and made it a bonus, doing my videos in the morning and then going for an afternoon walk when the weather permitted. I didn't have a treadmill, and I had to make do with what I had in my backyard, in my garage. I just had to do it. It was hard. It wasn't easy. There were times when it was raining and I got down because I didn't have a treadmill, and I thought, how am I going to exercise? When COVID started to ease up a little bit, the local church near my house started opening up, and I would go there in the mornings and run and jog. I was starting to sprint. I wanted to do more with my journey. I had pretty much lost my first 50 pounds, and I thought, you know what? I want to run. I want something different for myself. Seen runners all the time, and I thought, you know what? There's got to be a high. There's got to be a reason they were doing it. And I started jogging, and then jogging became running, and I would run 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, and I'd gradually move up until I'm at 6 miles a day. When I say a natural high, it's something you can't get anywhere else. You can't get it in a walk. You can't get it through a video. There's just something about your feet leaving that pavement and being able to have that mental clarity is like the best depression medicine there is, the best fix there is. I had to really dig deep and continue my journey because I knew then what my why was, and my why were my kids. And I always tell people, when you find your why and you're lacking motivation, look to what your why is. And when you find that, you find your way. Through my journey, I found my way because I knew what I was doing and why I was doing it. It wasn't for vanity. It wasn't for any other reasons other than I wanted to be a healthy mom to my kids. I wanted to live a long time. God granted, where I could see them grow up, graduate college, do things that I never had a chance to do things that my mom never had a chance to be there for. I wanted to be the mom that they could be proud of, and I wanted to be the mom that's gonna be like, "I'm here. I'm gonna be running around with the grandkids. You know what? Wait on me." I'm gonna be running with them. I wanted to succeed. I wanted them to have a mom they could be proud of and have me have my own legacy. My parents had their own legacy. My mom had her own legacy. I lived through their legacy, but I want my kids to look back when I'm gone and say, "You know what? This was my mom's legacy. She had a choice that she could either just sit down and do nothing, but she didn't. She reacted and did something huge."
Wow. That's amazing. I'm still thinking like you make the first 50 pounds sound like that came off easy.
Well, when you're a heavier person and you start watching your calories, you start tracking, you start looking into a lower calorie deficit, because, here I was consuming probably 5 or 6,000 calories a day. You don't think about it, but you go to a fast food restaurant and in one meal, you're downing 12 or 1,300 calories in one meal. And I was doing that with sodas and junk food and fast food. I wasn't cooking healthy. I was dropping chicken nuggets in the deep fryer, things that I knew were easy, cheap, that my kids would eat. Nothing like going after school and getting a Happy Meal, which most people do for their kids because they get hungry as the day goes on. So I really had to start tracking my food. I had to know what was going on my fork, what was going in my mouth, because then I could tell where the problem was and how I could fix the problem. Your body is like a car and it should run like a car. You have to check underneath the hood. You cannot drive a vehicle without gas. It has to have oil or you're going to blow up the motor. You have to have air in the tires. You have to have windshield wiper fluid. You have to have everything that helps the car. It has to function. And that's just the body. The body is like a car. You need fuel. So I went ahead and looked at everything that I had to do. I didn't go too low on carbs because I needed the energy. I was exercising. I knew I needed the energy, but I was just watching the types of carbs that I was eating. I was doing non-starchy carbs. I was making sure I had my iron. I was making sure I had higher protein because I did not want to lose the muscle I knew I had. Though I was big and fluffy, I knew that there was muscle underneath that. And I knew that if I lost it, I would not get it back quite easily. And I didn't want to be what I called a flabby fat. I wanted to be as toned as I could. You see people who lose massive amounts of weight, but they never tone, they never really exercise or do the strength training. And so they're left with problematic areas, loose skin, imperfections that they have a hard time dealing with. And I was dealing with enough as it was. I didn't want to see any more imperfections. I knew that was probably part of the journey. I was expecting it. But here I am to say the way I've been able to cope and do my journey, I'm very fortunate that not only I was blessed with good genes, but I was blessed with the knowledge of being able to research so I wouldn't have all those problem areas. We pick ourselves apart all the times as women. We're big about picking ourselves apart. I picked myself apart for years and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I thought, I am going to do the best I can. However this turns out is how it's going to turn out. That's one of the reasons I really didn't take many before pictures. I thought, what if this journey is kind of like what I've done before? You lose weight and then you turn around and you gain it back. I didn't know that this was going to be what I call a soulful journey. It was not just a physical journey, but it ended up being a spiritual one, and it ended up being a mental one, and it ended up being an emotional one. It had everything in this one journey combined. I found the joy in my journey, getting to these non-scale victories. You think there's a number on the scale that reflects that's healthy. Healthy looks different on everyone. Someone who is my weight may not look healthy. Someone who is heavier than me may look healthier. I don't know what their genetics hold. I don't know what their labs are. Healthy looks different on everyone. We just have to do a better job as to what we want based on what we want our goals to be. My goal weight was never 127. I thought, if I get to 150, I'm going to be happy. But I'll never forget going to the doctor, and he didn't recognize me when I came in. He said, "Okay, you're at 170 pounds. So if this is all there is, this is wonderful. And I said, no, this is not all there is. I was still at a point where I felt that I wanted to do more. I felt that I could do a little bit better. And I got more diligent with my strength training and got better with my running. I started really focusing on macros, your fats and your proteins and your carbs. I was really trying to get down to it because I really wanted to be a fit mom and in the best shape of my life by the time I was 50 years old. I just turned 48 last Thursday. So I'm on the way up. There's things I could do that are better, but if this is where I am and I continue where I am right now, then I think I've done a great job and succeeded where I wanted to.
And how long have you kept off the weight? It's been 4 years?
I lost 157 pounds starting March of 2020. I underwent a hysterectomy 3 years ago because I had endometriosis really bad. And I had to have a complete hysterectomy to keep myself as healthy as I could, to keep my female, I guess, better. I was tired of being in pain. So we felt it needed to come out. Through menopause, I was in complete state of menopause the minute I came out of surgery. And the doctor's like, we don't have hormones. We can give you hormones. But now you're in menopause and you can expect to gain some weight and have your energy gone. And I said, no, not doing it. The minute I was able to get up and walk in the hospital, I was walking. I remember making 100 laps around the hospital floor when there were 4 other women on the floor with the same type of surgery, and they were not moving. I said, you know what? I'm getting up. I am doing this. I know what my routine is. I can't lay here and be sore, and I'm not going to let what she said, oh, you might gain the weight back. I was never going to let that cross my mind. I thought, you know what? This is my journey. I worked really hard to get here. I'll be danged if I let menopause give me the weight back. So I researched a lot about the nutrients I needed. I knew I needed sleep. I knew I needed to have less stress, and I needed to make sure I got adequate amount of sleep. I had to make sure I was really watching what I ate because sometimes those things hinder weight loss if you're not eating the right types of foods. I really looked into everything. I'm very into research and studies, and I feel like if I know them better, that I can better integrate them in my life and my lifestyle change so I don't have any problems later on because there's no going backwards. I always give the analogy that there's a windshield in front of us, and the reason it's so big is because there's so much more out there than looking backwards in that rearview mirror.
Can you tell me what your workout routine is now?
Well, in the morning, I get up usually around 3:30 to 4 o'clock. I'm usually drinking a cup of coffee with my collagen in it. I rest my stomach for a little bit and I start doing my workouts. I have certain days I do different muscle groups. Wednesdays are my rest day on strength training, so I didn't do any strength training today. As soon as I get my push-ups and sit-ups done and squats, which I do pretty much every day, I end up going out and running. It's usually in my neighbor's driveway, or sometimes I'll go to the park and sometimes I'll go to the track. But since it's gotten dark so early, since it gets dark and we're into the daylight savings time and stuff, I'm running in the dark. So I don't like to leave my home. I usually run with my light lamp next door, and I just run several different laps up and down the driveway until I reach 6 miles. I usually run with a weighted vest on. That's something new I've integrated in the last 6 months or so.
How much is the weighted vest?
It started out 8 pounds and I've got it up to 20 pounds. So I'm running
Wow,
with a 20 pounds, 20-pound weighted sack on my, my back.
that's
So it's
serious.
great. It burns. You can feel it in your legs and the tops of your thighs. That's why one body part I really do focus on are my legs. I've always, my legs carry me everywhere. So if my legs are not strong, then I can't go anywhere.
Also, like how many push-ups, how many sit-ups?
I usually do about 125 sit-ups every day and about 50 push-ups that are pretty much military style push-ups. It's always been hard for me because I've not always been a upper body person. I had to actually do my first push-up off of my fireplace and work on building strength. And then I had to go ahead and work off of an ottoman until I could get down on the ground and do my push-ups.
So you're not doing the ones on your knees? Wow. That's incredible. The beginning definitely did not look like that. How did
No.
you keep going from not being able to work out for 10 minutes and parking close to the grocery store? There had to have been points where you're like, "Is this working? Have I plateaued?"
Well, there were many times I plateaued. I had 4 plateaus in my journey, but I had so many non-scale victories along the way that were great. I tell people all the time that those non-scale victories make up for so much. Being able to cross your legs is a non-scale victory. Being able to get to that first push-up or 2 push-ups on the floor when you're used to doing them off the wall, those are non-scale victories. Being able to go in and shop and buy a pair of jeans or shorts and know that you have to get a smaller size, those trump any numbers on any scale. I'll never forget the time of my journey, which was an exciting point, is when I got to Wonderland. People are like, Wonderland, what's that? When you release and you get to 199 pounds and you're
Mm.
in Wonderland, you get below that 200 pounds. I never thought I'd ever get below that. To me, that was not just a scale victory, but it was one of the aha moments when you look down at the scale and you're below 200. You're like, wow, I was close to 300. There were many times in my journey I wanted to give up. The lack of support was not there. You think everybody's going to grow with you and everybody's going to accept your journey as it is. But sometimes people get scared of that. People get jealous of that. People get resentful of that because they're not where you are in life and they're not ready or prepared to be there yet. And I had to stay focused because the vision in my head was I could always see my mom during her last days. And I just didn't want that for my kids. I knew that I had to do this. I knew that there was no going back, regardless of how much weight I had lost, regardless of what plateau I was on. I never cheated on myself. I never faltered and gave in. I knew one bad meal would turn into another, and then it would turn into this, and then turn into that. And before you know it, I would be into my Coca-Colas again, and then the cycle would never end. I had to be strong enough to break the cycle, me, myself, and I. Life doesn't come with a manual. It comes with a Bible. And there were many times I sought out God to get me through my journey. My faith grew within my journey, and it was a very big spiritual journey for me because I was pretty much on my own. We all can do it. We have to believe in ourselves. God believes in us. There's lots of people that believe in us. You have to believe in yourself and know that you can do this. You get self-gratification from being able to do something so hard. Life is hard as it is, but there's lots of things that are hard in life. And I took on the role of losing weight, which was extremely hard. It wasn't an easy task, but I knew that I couldn't die. I wasn't ready to yet. I didn't want to have another stroke. I figured if I had another stroke, I may not be so lucky. I didn't want that for my kids. I didn't want them to experience life without me. It was hard enough for me to experience life without my mom. I didn't want them to go through that.
That's a really big why. Where did your
That's
dad come
hard.
into play with your life? Talk to me about
My
your dad.
dad, yeah, my dad, oh, he was wonderful. He and my mom, my mom stayed at home, and my dad worked 3 jobs to put us through Catholic school in Chicago. She was the one taking care of everything while my dad was working. My dad worked 3 jobs. I didn't see him very often. When I did. I seen him on the weekends. And I seen him very late at night. He would park cars in Chicago, and that would be his nighttime job. And he wouldn't get home till like 11:30 or 12 midnight. Sometimes I just wanted to wait up and see him before I went to bed. He was a great person. He loved my mom and would do anything for her. It really hurt him to see her go through what she went through. And it took a toll on him. After my mom passed away, we moved to Kentucky to be with his family, to be around relatives and cousins and aunts and uncles to help us get through the grieving point in our life. I had him for 6 years before he passed away. I was able to develop a relationship with my dad that I really didn't have a chance to because he did work all the time. He was kind, gentle, humble, kind-hearted, and would do anything for anyone and never ask for anything in return. That is what I remember most about him. I remember him being a hard worker, and he never raised his voice. He was always calm and gentle. And the day he lost my mom, something inside of him died too. It's hard to go through life without your partner that you've been with pretty much your whole life. And I think the grief just kind of got to him. He let his health spiral down. He tried. but he pretty much had given up after my mom died. He was there to watch me and my brother graduate, and he was there to watch me get married and walk me down the aisle. I will forever hold that in my heart because it wasn't long after that that he passed away. So I had two of the greatest parents, had a wonderful legacy that I hope I can live up to when I look at them and how supportive they were of each other and their children. And I think to myself, on days I don't feel proud of myself, I know they are.
Wow, that is very powerful. Thank you so
And
much
that
for sharing that.
I always tell people, we can either have one foot in the boat or both feet are in the boat. God is my captain and my parents are the co-captains, and I'm just letting them navigate me through whatever this life is supposed to be, whatever this journey is supposed to be next for me.
Wow, I commend you for your dedication to this. It is not easy. And like you said, you've had some crazy haters.
Yeah. You think everybody's going to be happy for you, and they aren't, especially,
Women can be mean.
in my town. I live in a very small town. I remember when my daughter first went to her football game because she was a majorette in high school. When all of the COVID restrictions got lifted, we were able to go to our first game. I'll never forget sitting there with my husband and my best friend, and people would come up and talk to him and my friend and look at me like I was part of the plague. And I was like, what's wrong with me? And my friend's like, I don't think they recognize you. And I would have people message me after the game and go, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize that was you. We thought your husband got a divorce and remarried someone. We didn't know that was Dana there. There were a lot of times when I got messages, text and things from weird numbers. I saw you today, and all kinds of mean things. I can't believe you're telling people about your journey. The one thing I'll never forget is the month of February. It's still is fresh in my mind. There was a package on my front porch, and it was a small package. And my husband and I were going to the grocery store, and I was like, "What is that package?" And my husband said, "Is it your vitamins?" Because I take Nutrafol hair vitamins to help with my hair growth. And I said, "No, I don't think so. I don't have them on auto pay." And so I pick up the package like it's nothing. We're riding down the road. I open it up, and it's 4 butt chocolates, anal butt chocolates, and a confetti bomb. I was looking at my husband, and he looked at me, and I was like, "Who would send this to me?" And he's like, "I don't know." He's like, "But it's not only funny." At first it was funny because, you get butt chocolates in the mail. It was like, who does this type of thing? And so I took it to the police station. My friend who's a retired cop said, listen, we need to take it to the station, make sure no one's been following you or doing anything. We need to check it out. Took it to the police station. Me and a couple of the lieutenants had a field day with it. They were laughing at what I call the ash chocolates. And now, what are we going to do about this? Because I don't know who sent this to me. They said, well, if we find out who sent it, we'll have to press charges or whatever. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm just like, I want to know who sent it. And they're like, okay, we'll get back to you in a couple days. And so 2 days later, another package arrives at my front steps. And I thought, I'm just taking this to the police station because it was in the same packaging. So I took it to the police station. I laid it on the counter. I was like, open this with me. Let's find out what this one is. And we opened it. It was sure again the same package. Had four ass chocolates and like a pecker confetti bomb. And I was like, and it had a note in there that it was, the first one was happy belated birthday, and this one was happy Valentine's Day. And I was like, because it was meant to come to my house. And I thought, I just want to know who did this. I'm like, this is really ridiculous. A couple days later, I got a phone call from a girl I knew. She used to be a friend. Her daughter went to school with my daughter for many years. And she said, I sent you that. And I said, why? She said, well, because I thought you sent me something. I said, oh, okay. First of all, these 2 packages were like $75 each. And I'm like, next time you decide to send me something I can use. I don't eat chocolates, by the way. I gave those up during my weight loss. So, send me something, maybe a fruit basket or something. And she was embarrassed by that. And I told her, let's just get your package that I sent, whatever that might have been. I said, I'll meet you down at the police station and we'll figure out who sent yours. Well, it ended up being, I found out through the grapevine, it was her and another woman who were talking about my journey, thought they knew more about it than I did. And I thought, you know what? Everybody's like, "Oh," my friend's like, "Are you gonna press charges?" It was really wrong for the police to have her call me. But I'm glad because we had a nice, what I say, a civil conversation where I pretty much was like, "You know what? I won. I'm winning at life." You're failing at life because you feel like you have to bring someone down to do that. But my son ate those chocolates. He said they were the best. And, for 75 bucks, they should be.
Quality chocolate. Yeah.
Grade A chocolate. And so I thought, it could have been worse. But I thought at that point in time, I was winning at life and people weren't liking it. I wasn't following their plan of action or what they felt I should be doing. I had a lot of people tell me they knew my journey more than I did. I had people make up fake profiles on me and send messages out. Part of running groups, some men would message me and create Facebook pages about me. I'm just thinking to myself, what have I done? What is it that you're so miserable over that you have to put hate onto someone else? My tribe is small and I call it a tribe because I'm conscientious about the lessons and the blessings I've had. My mom always used to say, many people will approach you and come into your life. It will either be a lesson and you can learn something from them. And then they walk away and they're only there for a season or two in your life. And sometimes they're not meant to stay at all. Then there are blessings in your life. Those that come into your life that inspire you, that give you hope, that love you fiercely and bring you that type of motivation, you'll know when you meet those types of people. They'll come into your life and it'll be like, how come I've never met you before? Because it feels so right. And I've met a lot of people that way. There's a lot of blessings in my life. I have a lot of supporters. I'm sure I still have a lot of naysayers that think they know the journey I've been on more than I know my own journey. I'm true to my journey. I help coach women into healthier versions of themselves because I know what it was like to be there. And I think it's very important to be uplifting and to be empowering to women and everybody in general. Life is hard. Society is hard on us. Society was hard on me when I was heavy. I never had doors open for me. I was always the overweight mom, never getting a chance to do much. Though I was always with my kids and doing PTO stuff and this and that for school. I was there with my kids and I was present, but I wasn't fully present. I was existing in pretty much a shell. And I guess you can say through my journey, I cocooned out into something so much more than I ever thought I could be. There are so many dreams and aspirations I had for myself when I was younger and into my high school years that I never thought this day would come where I can say, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And gosh, these doors are opening and I'm just running through them.
Speaking of cocooning out, you have now been asked to walk runways and you were just a part of New York Fashion Week. Talk about that. And you've even been asked to wear wings, which are harder than it looks.
Exactly. I never really wanted to be, I always had these, Brooke Shields and Kathy Ireland and Elle McPherson. All of them were part of, I grew up around them and I was just like, they're so beautiful. And I wonder what it would be like to model one day. And I would watch pageants with my mom and always thought it would be wonderful to have a crown one day. In fact, one year I even dressed up as a beauty queen. I have these flowers, this sash, and this crown. I ended up getting a call from a photographer friend who used to take pictures for my daughter. And he's like, I've been watching your journey. I really do think that you should be in a pageant. You've got to do something with what you've accomplished. And I said, what are you thinking about? And he said, there's a couple pageants to look into. I looked into the international pageant. And it was based on a platform. I wanted to do health and wellness. That was my platform. That is where my journey started, and I wanted to take it to a national stage. I went through several interviews, several different calls, and I won Mrs. Alabama International 2024. I was able to bring my platform to Boys and Girls Clubs and to other industries where I could help others. I wanted to bring it to a national stage. During that time, I got in contact with a lady who owns a shop nearby. She was helping sponsor my dresses. I ended up getting in touch with a designer who was designing shoes. He's like, you should walk the runway. And I'm like, the runway? He's like, yeah, New York runway's coming up. He said, you need to be walking New York runway. And I'm like, wow, like That was so out of the ordinary. I was like, New York runway. When you think of the runway, you think of Victoria's Secrets and the wings, and you think of these women. And I'm like, that's just not me. But then I thought, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I went to my first fashion week and it was amazing. I was given heels. And I thought my running career is going to probably be no more because I'm probably going to break something in these. I had never walked in heels before, let alone on a runway. I was very nervous. But it worked out. I had a lot of compliments. I had a lot of great feedback. I was able to share my journey with so many women that were very supportive of it. It was just the moments were like, wow, your journey to get here is amazing. And giving that opportunity, I was able to meet several other designers along the way. And I just walked my third season in New York Fashion Week this last week. It was amazing. I was a showstopper for one of my designers, and being able to walk out with her and be a hanger for her design, just incredible. It's like something you see in a movie, something you see on TV. I dreamt it and I pretty much real lifed it. People who are not there, who have never been part of it, can't see it, can't feel it. I feel it differently because I know the journey behind getting to that. And I appreciate it much more. It's almost kind of like a reward for me for doing such a hard journey by myself. And this is my reward. People reward themselves with lots of things. People reward themselves with food. People reward themselves with clothing. And here I'm rewarded with New York Fashion Week. And I'll be going to Paris.
What?
I'll be walking the international runway. I got my passport November 2023, and I'll never forget looking at it. And my husband was like, "Where are you going?" And I said, "I'm not really sure yet, but I'm going somewhere." God was just like, "You know what? You're going to Paris." When the designer and I talked about it, I thought, I can't pass this opportunity up. This is an opportunity that most will never get in their lifetime. And here I am, 48 years old, a mom of two in a small town, living out what some people can only imagine doing. And here I am doing it.
I'm so incredibly proud of you. I want to know, what are people doing wrong?
Society has to do better. For starters, we have so much fast food around every corner. The options of just having a salad are not enough. Salads can be crushing to what I call a lifestyle change. I don't like to say a diet because in the word diet, there's die. You're pretty much giving up a lot to satisfy losing that weight. When I say lifestyle change, it has to be the protein, the calories, the sugars, the carbs. Having a fast food restaurant around every corner is easier for everyone. People don't sit around a table anymore. We did have times where we were together at the kitchen table and we did have that meal. But there's a lot of times now, there's so many people running from point A to point B with their kids, extracurricular activities. It's easy just to fly into a fast food restaurant or go to the nearest Mexican restaurant, which we have like 7 in our town, to find those healthy options. A lot of times people don't look for those. They think, oh, well, it's just one meal. It's not going to hurt me. They don't stay disciplined enough. And I think we need to have better choices in our schools. We need to have better choices when we're eating in public. We need to have more healthy nutrients available to us. We need to have the inflation go down on groceries because it's easier and more affordable to buy a bag of Hostess donuts than to buy a bag of fruit. That has to change. People can't afford to eat healthy. It's always been an issue for a lot of people when I've talked to them. It costs so much to be healthy. And when I say, what does it cost you? They're like groceries. I'm like, but at the end of the day, on your health, what is it actually costing you? Are you on medicine? What is it actually costing you? It's actually costing you more to be on medicine than it is to go out there and make healthier choices. We need to do better because Alabama is third in the United States for obesity. We have sweet teas. We have fried chicken. We need to start making healthier choices and making them stick for a lifetime. That's how we break the cycle.
My dad even told me he's going to be counting calories for the rest of his life. As we age, It's almost inevitable that we're all gonna have to do that. Do you think that's true?
Well, our metabolism does slow down. Some people fast, some people are used to eating one meal a day. They get stuck. Their metabolism has nowhere to go. It's not functioning well. I eat throughout the day. I eat several meals a day to keep my motor running. I can't afford to sit back and take a power nap. Those days are over. I have to get my good 6+ hours of sleep so I can get up in the morning and be diligent with my activity. But as we age, we lose our bone density, especially through menopause. I have to really watch that, which is why I strength train because I want my bones healthy. I had bad back issues. I had 2 herniated discs and 2 bulging discs and the start of arthritis in my lower back when I started my journey. I was told, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. I wanted to prove them wrong. I ended up going for my MRI scans after I lost my total weight of 157. And there were no issues on my back. It was totally it was totally of a different person.
Wow,
And
that's incredible.
my arthritis is gone, my bulging discs are gone, my herniated disc is gone. The thing that the doctors never did tell me was that if I lost weight, some of those things could be alleviated. And it was almost kind of like they wanted me to wait and just have back surgery or something. But I went ahead and went on this journey and pretty much came out a miracle. It was like God performed a miracle on me and said, don't mess this up, Dana. You've got to hang on and do this for the rest of your life now. And as we age, we lose our elasticity. We're not 20 anymore. We're not a spring chicken. And we have to really work on what we fuel our body with, how we eat, how we hydrate. I found the fountain of youth through my journey. I feel I've aged backwards. When people look at my old pictures and they look at me now, that they're like, it's almost like you're the daughter of that person that was in that before picture. I take that and I look at that and I know who that woman was and I know what she was like. I love her. I love the bigger woman I was because I took a leap of faith and had the courage to change and control the situation I was in by losing the weight. As we age, I will always remember what I've taken through my journey and carry that into my 50s, 60s, 70s, and hopefully my 80s. I would love to be as old as Betty White. I love her. I want to be out there on that dance floor, living life to the fullest. We don't always get that chance, but if I have that chance to do it, I'm going to do it. I don't know what my lifeline is looking like. God is the only one that can tell me what that looks like. We just never know how long we're going to have on this earth. I always say time is something we can't get back. The hourglasses turn and eventually the sand runs out. But we can make choices now to sustain our lifestyle for many generations to come. And I'll always probably track my meals. I'll always want to know what's going on my fork because I never want to go back to this place where I was. It was very dark and I was not happy there. I found joy in my journey through loving myself, through self-care, and being able to take care of myself through exercise and nutrition and being able to sustain the course. And I just want to be that inspiration to people that they can do it too. We don't have to take extreme measures. We just have to know our why. And when we know that why and we have that mindset into play, then anything is possible because I'm living proof. I'm here doing it.
You definitely are. Is there anything that you would like to ask my dad?
Like, what does he foresee in the future for himself as far as staying healthy? And how is that looking for him? Is there a goal in mind that he has set? God takes him home. Is there something that he wants to achieve that he's always wanted to do? Does he have any fears? And if so, what are they?
That's really beautiful. It's funny because I remember his dad would be on the floor doing his push-ups every day. My grandfather, up until an old age, would get down and do his push-ups and ups religiously. He was always a very fit guy. Now my dad is starting to realize that in order for him to get off the couch easily or to chase his grandkids, that he's going to have to start really incorporating that into his life.
People retire, and sometimes you see people say, are they really retired? People keep going to make themselves more mobile. And if you sit around, you're pretty much setting yourself up for a life sentence of health issues. When people who are retired get up and they do other things in life, I think living And doing that is so great for younger generations to see. They've worked hard their whole life for everything they've ever had, and they're still working for it up until the day they die. And I think it's important that we look overall as a society and the generations that were before us and the generations that we have and the generations that will come after us.
My dad is going to love that answer. That's exactly how he defines legacy. So, thank you so much for coming on the Better Call Daddy show, sharing so vulnerably, and let people know how they can connect with you and who you want to connect with. Who are you helping now?
I am a health and wellness coach. I strictly work with women, especially those who are in menopause, who are in that state of stuck. I help many try to get to a healthier version of themselves. We're too busy pouring from an empty cup that we're depleted. And as moms, we often think we're selfish for self-care, and it's very necessary that we do that because we get lost in the midst of kids and the household and family that we lose ourselves sometimes. We need to regain that. I help these women help regain their self-confidence through their weight loss. I help them with nutrition. I help them with exercise plans. I help them with meal planning for their family and grocery shopping on a budget because groceries are too expensive to be ordering something and then having to turn around and make something different for your family. I think that they should be incorporated in the lifestyle change, and you can make it fun for them so that your kids can actually develop healthier eating habits so that they can take it with them through their life as my kids have taken and take it to their children and their children. I think we're setting some milestones here and we need to be doing more of that. I think, there's not as much of that. And I think in today's society looks at you different, whether you're thin or whether you're fat. And I want society to look at people going, well, they're healthy. I want to be like that. Not that they're thin or beautiful. I want to I want people to look at me and go, she's healthy. I want to be there and help other women create that for themselves and let them know that they're worthy, that they matter, that they're valued. And they can find me on Instagram under Dana T. Bradley, which I am going to be doing a lot more on. They can also find me as Mrs. Alabama International 2024 for now through my Facebook. Eventually, maybe I'll have a YouTube channel. There's lots of things to come. I'm always getting questions and I'm trying to prepare myself for what's next. Health coaching has been a very big part of my life the last 3 years. And I've coached teenagers into women in their 70s. My oldest client right now is 75. And she's in probably the best shape of her life, and she just wanted to be around a little bit longer for her family, so I say
Oh my
kudos to her.
gosh, that's so great. I love that.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
I'm gonna be writing a book too, so I'm gonna be in the process of writing a book, so.
Heck yeah. That's awesome.
You've heard from my mom. Now, let's switch it over to Grandpa.
Well, what's interesting is your name is Reena, and we came up with joy, and it's a big Reena meaning joy. We were thinking of naming you Dana Marie,
Really?
and this girl reminds me of Dana May I. And you're going to say, May I what? She says yes to everything. She is ready for a new challenge. She's determined and disciplined to being positive and achieving. She gives credit to God Almighty to send her on a positive path. And the idea is that there's no limit. She is an example of no limit, meaning that she's always trying to do a little bit better. If you achieve a certain goal, don't stop there. Come up with a new goal. Push yourself further. If you are shooting for the moon, let's go to Mars. If you're shooting for Mars, let's go to another planet. Let's try very hard to understand that whatever time we have, which is limited on this earth, is to keep going for that brass ring. Keep going for it. She's one of those people. She's absolutely a beautiful looking woman on the outside, but she's gleaming from the inside. You see a shining light coming right out of her eyes. She's got a beautiful smile and she's gleaming. And you would think that that can be very contagious, and it is. So she should be able to, when you feel so good about yourself, what does she want to do? She keeps reiterating that that inner glow has strength in helping people, which is, again, the legacy of the Better Call Daddy show is to not just look at yourself, but look what you can do for yourself. Yes, but how can you use yourself as an inspiration in helping your children and further generations and the people around you? And I also found fascinating that the legacy that she really has from the short time that she's had with her parents is that that love that they had for each other, that they really were like two halves, or to make a whole, that they really was very hard for them to survive without each other, and that compassion and love is part of her as well, and she wants to share that. And the tragedy of her mom dying early is really a motivating factor to her weight loss as well. That she decided that living without a mom at 14 years old, and she has a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old, she knows how that feels. And she was determined to live for them, that it was more important for her to give her children every opportunity to be loved and to also have a beautiful example to go by. And she wanted to create her own legacy of never giving up and shooting for the stars too. And she's doing it. For someone to also walk down a runway in beautiful dresses or not, that's not a easy job to do, to put yourself out there in front of maybe hundreds of people or thousands of people is quite an accomplishment. She's trying to help other people stay motivated and encourage them. That inner strength and that gleaming that she shows, very intoxicating, almost like a sugar fix. And she asked me how important health is. As you know, I had a few of my own setbacks this year, and without your health, nothing really matters. And you can't really help people if you're not feeling well. If you're not feeling well, it's very hard to shine through also. So you have to feel good in order to really show a good example to other people, because a lot of people need some inspirational words, but they need to see it, they need to feel it, they need to do it. It's not an easy job to feel good every day and to be able to set a good example every day. But I give her a lot of credit because I've started counting calories and tried to lose some weight. Every time I get up to the 220 or 230, I can hardly move, and my back is killing me. As she stated, even she had some back problems too. I'm now around 210, but I really need to lose another 10, if not 20 pounds, and I would feel a lot better. But it isn't easy because once you start that sugar, it's very addictive and it's very difficult to give it up. If you give it up, you really have to you have to really keep it off. You gotta give it up and find other ways of. And I love what she said also about the running versus the walking, is that when you're feeling a little breeze and when you're running and your adrenaline starts flowing, I think a lot more then than when you're walking. It's a natural high. It just makes you feel great. It's hard for me to run by myself. It's always was nice running with somebody else. And that's the thing. For her to be able to do this by herself is also an incredible story. It's nice to have somebody that's going to do it with you or make it easy with watching people that are already in great shape. That's not very motivating either. That was a very good thing she brought up, that seeing other people that are not in the best of shape trying to lose weight and working on it at a different pace than some of these people that already look like they could run through buildings. And you don't get very motivated because they're already in tremendous shape. But to see someone that is not in the best of shape fighting through it and showing the discipline that they can achieve, I think is a lot more effective. And when you've been, it sounds like twice her weight almost, and been able to take it off, that's a lot more impressive than someone who's been bodybuilding their whole life. people that rise above adversities and do what looks like the impossible, believe it or not, you would have a bigger impact with those that overcome these adversities. And I'm going to try to lose 20 pounds after listening to this tape. Start counting my calories and give up the sugar. If you can give up drinking Coke cans of soda for 24 of them in a couple of days, hopefully I can give up the crave for some cookies and cake and eat a little more fruit instead.
Yeah,
But
her
she's
husband too now has lost over 50 pounds and he's running with her. It's remarkable.
but
And they've
it's
kept their marriage together for decades too,
right,
and it's been a lot of ups and downs.
but it's nice to have someone, believe it or not, she's now a mentor. She's now an achiever. And like I said, when she's talking, it's not just her, 'cause she is a nice looking lady now, but she's gleaming. You see the light coming out of her face and the smiling and the never give up attitude that she has. And that when someone says, okay, you've reached this milestone, you can take your foot
Stop.
off the gas pedal.
You can
And she
stop
says,
here. And she's like, oh
she's,
no.
oh, she says, no, I can still get better. I just loved how she said that doing it the right way and having muscle tone and watching your calories and eating healthy and making sure you have enough protein. Because as you know, if you don't have enough protein, you can become anemic. There's people that are on this Ozempic. You see that they lose weight and they look sick. They don't look well. So the point is that it's not just to lose the weight. You want to still be healthy all along the journey.
Thanks for listening. Now I think I'm going to go call my dad.
I'll say goodbye and see you the next time.
Thanks for listening to the Better Call Daddy Show. Join us weekly for new episodes and more daddy wisdom.
Better call daddy is good advice always.
And love you, Grandpa, and love you, Mommy.
That's so cute. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. You can also find special episodes on my YouTube channel, and you can listen on Apple Podcasts,
On Good Pods.
Spotify, Amazon Music, Alexa, or your preferred podcatcher. That's a wrap for now.